Gabby Live over here at Diego Garcia over at British Indian Ocean Territory by the Chagos Archipelago. We're here with the 14th, not 15th, 14th edition of Demi SEA Weekly, number 14. I'm, of course, your host, Yaku of Yakuzaku, and with me today is La Mary Jane, que es conocida por joner con harina, que es simple, Light _ VIP. How we doing, Light?
Who's Spider-Man?
Milk.
It actually makes sense. What's up, Yaku? We are here. We are back with, of course, some more Oceanic StarCraft.
It actually makes sense.
You're like, finally. I've been doing this for 2 years. Oh god, we have, of course, we are back with Demi SEA Weekly number 14, and mate, we're gonna kick it off with another one of these. Mate, it's our boy again.
It is, in fact, our boy up against another boy from the Brisbane area here on Submarine LE. The bottom right corner map, spawning all the way bottom right corner of the map. We have the blue Terran player, probably the only Terran player, as Rip Elusori missed the check-in period. Oh no, actually I think Hero is here. He is going to be representing Legacy Esports from Brisbane. We have Azure.
And spawning in the bottom top left-hand corner of Submarine LE, we have the Australian Protoss player. He is pink. He is, of course, representing Team Fight for Justice. It is StarDuck.
And man, oh man, I feel like we definitely missed something yesterday with Azure not signing up for Grand Platypus Open. Or easily the most active Terran player and among the best in the region. I think, yeah, it's a very short list, him, Seether, and Hut, when it comes to Terran players in the region. And yeah, I was a little disappointed we missed him yesterday after what a performance he had last week. But he is here. He's giving us a TvP.
Oof, that he is, as these two have faced each other before in the past. I was just quickly trying to check the history because I remember casting him and it was in GPO number 56. StarDuck and Azure did face each other. It went all the way to the ace match between the two of them, and Azure ended up winning in the end. That was actually the same one where Azure made it to the finals against Go-Go Joey.
Indeed it was, again, just last week. Seemed like Azure was having quite a bit of a resurgence. So we're definitely very, very eager to just watch him and see where that'll take him. And yeah, now we're about to see that misses the proxy. He's gonna go scan it.
Wow, he goes, he double checks. He's aware that there is, of course, a proxy pylon somewhere. He checked and he saw that there was a pylon missing from that main base, and he confirms the gateway. But it's gonna finish, and StarDuck is looking to protect it.
Indeed, he will. The Adept should be able to deal with that Reaper, and actually a quick warp in of even more. Gonna be making short work of that. Sure, doesn't want to lose this Reaper, just gonna make sure that, you know, while it's not gonna be too useful, it at least have some kind of use as a scouting tool, and already very nice to play here with the bunker.
Ooh, and I love what StarDuck is doing again. Like he commits. Oh, he actually killed the Reaper with this round. But you know, he protected the gateway. He's posturing outside the main base. We'll see if he commits to a shade. It looks like he will.
Just missing the bunker, and he should be able to get a couple of SCVs. Okay, only one at the moment. But there's definitely a lot of room here in the natural base for StarDuck to maneuver around. Nice pickoffs here from Azure, taking out, what, 3? No, actually, only taking out 1 Adept. It was 3 Marines that got picked off.
Yeah, I was about to say that StarDuck didn't even need to shade away. He could have just stood there and fought and killed those Marines that were trying to kill his Adepts. But in the end, StarDuck does back off. But what I love is that StarDuck, like, as soon as like he got scouted and as soon as he protected his proxy, he threw down the 3rd base. Like, he is still looking to continue on past this point, not 100% an all-in. And we do see he's actually committing to Glaives,
which is interesting to say the least. I feel like normally when a Protoss player does this in PvT, they're anticipating their opponents to be a bit more tank heavy, try to shade on top of those and draw some friendly fire, but we'll see what StarDuck is actually planning for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen this kind of play from a Protoss player in this matchup, but we have seen it before. As you said, we could just see mass adepts just shade on top of the tank, focus down all the Marines, and it can honestly be quite terrifying.
Yeah, it definitely can. But I feel like that has fallen out of favor a little bit since the since the Void Ray buff, not specifically because of the Void Rays, but because, you know, more and more Protoss players open up with the Stargates, and for their crowd control of choice would, of course, then be the Phoenixes.
Definitely. So that's why it's so interesting that StarDuck is coming out with this style. We do see 3 more gateways on the way. There is +1 melee on the way for StarDuck, or +1 attack, which is quite interesting. I wonder if he plans to wait for that, or if he plans to go for a bit of an attack earlier.
Yeah, I think the most that we're really going to see from him before that finishes up is a little bit of posturing, you know, try to be as annoying as he can with those adepts, making sure that Azure can't play comfortable. But beyond that, we'll definitely have to see.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, nice SimCity. The adepts have to go all the way around, but it looks like they can commit to the shade.
And they might be able to get quite a number of SCVs here, not only from the adepts themselves, but also with a little bit of friendly fire on the tanks. Remember, when a SCV is killed, or when a unit is killed by friendly fire, it does not show up on the unit's loss tab. So we're going to have to do some calculations going on over here. Azure losing 11 at the very least SCVs.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's pretty good damage.
Yeah, and he even went toe-to-toe against the Marines as well. A lot of Marines went down trying to go for the Adepts, and even still some more lost mighty time, but finally Azure has enough Marines to clean this out.
And that's just about going to be the end of that. In the end, I mean, that was a very good economic damage that StarDuck got over here, but I'm just looking at the army supplies right now. Like Azure, he's finished up his upgrade. Stim is just about going to be done, and StarDuck, he sacrificed his entire army for that.
Exactly.
I do not like his chances on this counterattack whatsoever.
Especially because one submarine counterattacks hit so much faster. On top of that, like, there's no third TC whatsoever. Like, Azure is going for a big all-out push, and how many tanks with this? 5 tanks, a massive amount of Marines. StarDuck has to give up his third. I don't know if it's worth dying to try and save it.
Oh, he made Zealots light, and Chargers are quite done.
I mean, Zealots would be...
Eventually, you do want to get Zealots, and they are good against the tanks, but when they're slow like this, they just get shredded by the bio.
Exactly. StarDuck, he has to be patient. He has to buy some time, wait for another warp in, you know, just allow this base to go down because of how far ahead he is in workers, but it looks like he's going to try and protect it, and Charge just finished.
They did, in fact, just finish. I like that he didn't waste his force fields. Use them at the absolute last minute to maximize the damage he could do with his Zealots. And that's actually very effective defense coming out from StarDuck over here. I mean, the Marine count has just about been whittled down. There's nothing to protect the tanks from a flank over here. Nice started stepping from Azure, but the Marines are down, and there's just nothing to protect the tanks. One of them will remain at when it's all said and done.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Maybe a little bit of a mistake by Azure. He wasn't target firing the Immortals with his tanks. They were kind of on a move, and they were focusing on the Zealots, and somehow, someway, StarDuck with a bare minimum amount of Zealots was able to defend, able to just barely clean up, and he lost barely any workers in the process.
Yeah. Very few in the end over there.
Yeah, he lost 4 probes this game. Like, you saw him, he pulled the boys to hold as well, right? Like, he pulled a couple of probes and barely any of them went down. And he feels confident, he feels safe enough to expand and take a 4th.
Might as well at this point. He's already way ahead in the economy. So we might as well just get even more ahead. Azure only now finishing up his 3rd orbital command, and it's not even in position to mine. Not at all. It is here in the natural, still being morphed into an orbital. Meanwhile, StarDuck, he's just taking up, mate. He's just working towards his Templar Archive so he can get those Archons, potentially Storm up and running. And speaking of AoE, we already have Colossus on the way with extended thermal lance. That's a if I've ever seen one like. Azure is doing a pretty good job of keeping his eyes on StarDuck's unit composition, just trying to figure out, okay, how am I supposed to counter your own army?
I mean, I'm still a little bit worried because again, we're on submarine. Like Azure, when he attacks, like it doesn't take that long for the army to get there. And StarDuck may be being a little bit too greedy. Like he's taking up incredibly well, but his army supply is still dwarfed by that of Azure. And Azure, he's distracting the army and he's hitting the fort.
And doing a very good job of that, I might say. You know, submarine, as you said, moving across the map. It's very quick to do, but moving between bases, that can still take a little while. You do still have to be careful of how you want to split up your army.
Exactly.
So StarDuck not doing it too effectively, losing one of his bases and a lot of probes. Should be seeing things even out.
Yeah, but to be fair, like that was the risk that StarDuck took, taking the base closest to his opponent as opposed to the one over on the left-hand side. Like that was, that was a little bit risky of a decision there by StarDuck, and as a result, he lost his fourth base. He lost 11 workers, and now Azure has been able to even things up, and economically.
Indeed, yeah, so he can even grab a fourth base here if he so desired. But we know Azure, he loves being on the offensive when it comes to TvP. It is what makes him one of the more exciting TvP players to watch from the region, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely, as the drop is actually dealing an insane amount of damage. I did not expect 9 probes to go down, and now the main army is looking to push on forward. He has to be careful. There are still 2 Colossus with this army.
2 Colossus and quite a number of Archons coming in. Okay, only 3 at the moment. Surprised that StarDuck hasn't gone into a Psionic Storm just yet. Very nice pre-split coming out from Azure. Might get a little bit of friendly fire from the tanks, but you know, the good thing about this is he's not leaving any particular clump of tanks too vulnerable. Now StarDuck trying to come in with his flank, but I'm not convinced it's going to be enough. There are a lot of Marauders on the ground, and there's not a lot of gateway units to really buffer for this. No storms either. That is the really indiscriminate AoE for Protoss, but it looks like the Immortals and the Colossus are going to be enough with a little bit of Zealots buffer. Yeah,
I was about to say that it was looking pretty good for Azure, except StarDuck was on point with his warp-ins. He warped in a round of Zealots towards the end there, and they came in just in time to buffer for the Immortals and the Colossus, just barely making sure that they stayed alive, and he was able to push Azure back.
Yeah, I think +2 weapons also kicked in right at the end there for StarDuck.
That they did, and now StarDuck is the one being aggressive for the first time across the map with his main army, not just Adepts. And Azure, what does he have? He has a single tank, not quite sieged up yet. Okay, does get repositioned to the low ground.
That said, he does have a lot of bio on him, and I don't see much of a buffer for the chunky units here for StarDuck. He's got a couple of Zealots, but I'm not too convinced that's going to be enough. You know, one good surround of bio, and this very expensive army of StarDuck is going to be forfeit.
Yeah, I just realized that the one advantage that Azure really has is his Liberators. Like, even though StarDuck has Blink, he barely has any anti-air, like barely any Stalkers with this army, so he really does have to respect these Libs.
Yeah, he's hardcore been prioritizing warping in High Templar for Archons this game, as opposed to, you know, Zealots, which, I mean, okay, he's got a decent amount of them, but, you know, not quite enough to overwhelm his opponents, and as you said, not quite enough Blink Stalkers to really jump in, take out a Liberator, and jump out.
Yeah, exactly. StarDuck, he's getting himself in a really precarious situation. He's gonna get surrounded.
It's cornered, completely surrounded over here. Backed into a corner that Azure is absolutely taking advantage of. A lot of SCVs went down with this. Azure forced to pull those boys, but in the end, actually, it was warping into main base. Very nice multi-prong coming out here from StarDuck.
This is key. StarDuck just lost so much of his main army. If it wasn't for these Zealots, then Azure would just be going across the map. Like, Azure has to waste time cleaning these Zealots up in the main. Oh, and the upgrades could go down.
Yeah, +2 armor does get denied over here, which maybe not as important as +2 weapons, but still absolutely what you want to have. I mean, this just means that, you know, your Marauders can survive one more volley from the Colossus, something like that.
Oh, exactly, and now here we go. Azure is pushing out across the map. He scans, he sees the fourth base. The site defense hasn't quite finished up yet. Ooh, meanwhile, StarDuck, he has been prioritizing these disruptors to try and make the defense happen.
Indeed, he has. It's going to be just going to make sure that Azure is going to engage this a lot more cautiously. But Azure, he knew where the main army went.
Exactly.
He's just going for the throat.
Yeah, he's going right into the main base. You know, he's already sieged up behind himself, you know, to make sure it's difficult for StarDuck to really engage here.
You know what I really like about this position? Look at the bio already here, Light. He's basically set up a natural flank and a natural concave for to just collapse on top of this expensive army. He's making sure that the Liberators are covering his backs. Now he's just starting to go in. The Disruptors are all on cooldown.
That they are. Again, only a single Stalker with this army, so the Liberators are doing so well for Azure. He doesn't have any tanks left, and each stim hurts so much, the Medivacs are out of energy.
They just about are, but the Liberators, they still reign supreme in the sky. One Stalker took out about, what, 2 Liberators earlier on?
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. Another wave of Stalkers do come in. Meanwhile, Azure, he's doing the damage. He's trying to do whatever he can here, trying to take out whatever tech he can. He will take out a couple of robots. At the same time, Azure is sending his reinforcements to take out that 4th.
And honestly, that's a lot of production that just got taken out from StarDuck. Both of the robo facilities, as well as the Templar Archives.
Yeah.
Only thing he can warp in right now are Cybercore units, and I mean, beautiful hot pickup as well on top of those Medivacs.
Exactly, and here we go. The reinforcements of Azure hit that 4th base. So many probes are going down. StarDuck, he's going to be able to clean this up, but again, he's taking so much damage. At the same time, another drop in the 3rd.
Yeah, all those evacuated units. No Stargate tech here for StarDuck. Was unable to really challenge these Medivacs in the dead air. And once again, that bio gonna be evacuated. 23 probes taken out over here. And funnily enough, once again, Light, we're even on economy. Well, somewhat even on economy. StarDuck still has fresher bases.
He does, but of course Azure has mules as well. He's floating over his main base to take his 4th. Like, economically, things are pretty even. Like, this is such a scrappy game.
It really is here. But I feel we have gotten to the point where StarDuck has been bled out enough that Azure just needs one good engagement to take this game. Just needs to surround this Colossus, and there's not going to be a lot of leverage that StarDuck will have for the rest of this game. Very good Disruptor hit, but that was the only Disruptor he had, and it's taken out the army, completely evaporating here for StarDuck. GG is called, and Azure, they can take game number 1.
Oof, GG, well played. I can't believe Azure was able to bring that back. My God.
Absolutely. I think this goes to this game really exemplifies why, in my mind, Azure is the most exciting TvP player to watch. Seether and Hut, they're also pretty good in the matchup, but they're also a lot more calculated, a lot more patient when it comes to how they want to play a TvP. Azure, though, he will overwhelm and really tax his opponent's multitasking.
Yeah, exactly. He gets down and dirty in that mate. He's like a rabid dog. He just goes at any
holds.
Exactly. No holds bar, mate, when it comes to Azure. And what a game. Oh my God. Like, it was looking so good for StarDuck, but I do feel like a lot of it came to the map. Like, I feel like a Submarine really favors Azure's playstyle because of how aggressive he wants to be. Like, he's able to just hit everywhere so much faster.
Absolutely, and I would be surprised if the next map isn't, something like a Romanticide or a Lightshade, something a little bit more favored for longer macro games.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what the vetoes were, right? I'm sure those are the kind of maps that Azure wanted to get rid of, especially since Submarine made it through the vetoes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess there isn't a Zerg player in this matchup, so figured, all right, might as well get it out of the way at the start.
Exactly. As we are going to be getting into game number 2, it looks like this will be on Death Aura.
Yeah, not quite a Lightshade or Romanticide, but, still a map where we have seen games that really go into the split map scenario.
That we do. We'll see if we get there. We'll see if our Terran player lets the game get there. As we are getting into game number 2. This best of 3.
We're counting down. As we spawn in here on to Death Aura. LE. We're here in the bottom right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. The blue Terran player, he is coming out from the land of Brisbane. He's a feral dog, I think is what like he will bite and hold. He'll get down and dirty in this TvP matchup. He is representing Legacy Esports. He is Azure.
And spawning in Maple Craig, mate, and spawning in the top left hand corner of Death Aura LE, we have the Australian Protoss player, the young blood himself, currently down 0-1 in this best of 3, representing Team Fight for Justice. It is StarDuck.
Oh boy. I just have a quick little question to ask you, Light. Is it double limb or single limb today?
I did ask Demi before the tournament started, and it does seem like it is single elimination today.
Okay. Well, don't mind that's too much. Definitely not what I'm too used to here, as we do only have 8 players here. But you know what, Light? Here's how I like to imagine it. This is the playoff stage of the Demi SEA Weekly, essentially. You know, we've gone through the round of 16 group stage. That was some time ago. That was yesterday, actually. That's how I'll go with that. The round of 16 group stage was yesterday. Doing GPO was a group stage, but you know. So now we're in the playoffs, and here is where it's all comes down to.
Yeah, exactly. It's
a bit more exciting, I suppose.
It's a lot more cutthroat, a lot more exciting, yes, as well. It's rough for these players. You know, once you're done, right? You only have this one chance here. Oh boy, and we'll see how this goes. This is quite interesting. Azure actually opted to skip his Reaper here in game 2.
Yeah, went for the safety marine, so he's not, you know, going completely YOLO. He's still checking around his periphery for any proxies.
I didn't see it.
Okay, he should be able to see that.
Yeah.
And actually going for a very, very quick react and not switching the add-ons just yet. Still getting a couple more marines. Yeah,
quite interesting. I'm also curious to see what StarDuck's plan is. Obviously, he tried to go for Glaive Adepts in game 1, and that was thwarted. StarDuck, he was just notified that his proxy has been scouted, so we'll see if he commits to it. We'll see if he does anything crazy with it, or if he just goes straight into a third base like he did in the previous game.
Yeah, you mentioned StarDuck's opening here, and honestly, I'm a little surprised we haven't seen Stargate come out from him. At least I'm a little surprised that we haven't seen it on Death Aura. I feel like it is a very good map for that. You do see a lot more Phoenix play. Well, anecdotally, I don't actually have the data available for me to double check that, but anecdotally, I feel like we see a lot of Protoss players go for Phoenixes in PvT on Death Aura.
Yeah, it could be just that this is what StarDuck has been working on recently, and this is what he's comfortable with in this matchup, as we do see a bunch of Adepts being warped in. Azure should be aware of this, by the way, because again, like, he did the exact same thing in game number 1, and Azure's opening is that little bit different. He has the bunker, right? He has a bunch of marines. He even has a Widowmine that's coming out, looking to potentially go for a drop later on.
Yeah, I mean, he's using them defensively at the moment. Really can't blame him here. But yeah, he does have the opportunity to drop them with the medevac that's currently on the way. Oh, he's getting Armory Light.
Yeah, I saw it at the very same time. He's committing to that Armory, so this could deal a lot of damage, especially, you know, depending on how delayed the robo will be, the detection.
Yeah, as I always say, it's not common that the Protoss player skips out on vision in the early game. Usually they do open with a robo or at least a Stargate, so they can get that detection. But those few games that they don't light, it is the sweetest drops you can ever get.
Definitely, but what's scary is that this does delay things like Stim, and I'm surprised that StarDuck commits to the shade, because honestly, StarDuck could just wait here, and what could Azure really do about it? Yeah, like if Azure tried to fight, then StarDuck would just kill the Marines.
Yeah, well, could definitely go either way here. I feel like when you get to a certain point of Marines and you pull the boys a little bit, it can really go either way. But yeah, I guess StarDuck just not too confident with that. Backing away to work on the next phase. Can't believe we missed a mine drop, but yeah. 8 probes did go down, and there are mines in almost every base. The only one that's missing is on that third, but I don't think Azure is aware of that third base. So yeah, he's just camping this camping base and camping natural base.
feels bad, man. They go off once again, and this is an insane amount of damage so far. StarDuck, he's relying on cannons for detection, which will eventually clean things out, but now that I feel like the time has passed for these adepts to really deal damage, we'll see. The tank is already out.
And it is a little bit exposed here. StarDuck trying to target it down, but not target firing it with every single adept. So, yeah, actually buys a little bit of time here. There should be enough adepts here to just about deal with the bio underground. But with a quick little auto turret drop and a couple of boys pulled, this isn't going to do too much.
Yeah, I mean, he is dealing a lot of damage, and like, this is damage that he needs to do, to be fair, because of all the damage he took from those Widow Mines. And with that, all the Marines go down, all the SCVs are going to start going down as well. A tank finally comes out, so with this tank, he should be able to shoo away these last remaining adepts.
Just about, yeah. Azure not wanting to back away from that bunker just yet, but here we go. Adepts have been dealt with. Nice little bits of damage here that's been done by StarDuck. But at the end of the day, it's more of an equalizer than anything.
Yeah, definitely. Oh god, it's it's so unfortunate. I did also realize that StarDuck, I don't believe he ever got into the main base, so he never had any heads up that a Wind Mine drop was coming. So again, it really did catch him off guard. Despite that though, because of the faster third base, like, he has been able to just consistently pump out probes, and he's actually still ahead, maintained his lead in terms of the worker count.
Indeed he has, but is that going to help him in the end here? Because he was supposed to remake all those probes, and because he took a little bit of an economic hit in the early game, is that going to be enough to swat away this offense? Okay, no medevac here. Just a handful of Marines and a tank.
Yeah, and again, these are stimless Marines. The water tower does go down. The probes are pulled as well. Let's see if he can focus on the tank before it dealing too much damage. Another tank joins the fray.
And honestly, being forced to pull the boys over there, absolute value here being taken from Azure. Will lose a Raven, or maybe he won't. There's some dead air. There's some dead air.
Ooh, wow.
Lose a Raven.
Does not lose the Raven in the end. And yeah, I mean, I guess it was necessary for StarDuck to pull probes to make sure he didn't die, but he lost quite a number of them. And with that, Azure, he takes the lead. He's working on his third base. Like, he's looking pretty good here in game 2.
It's a scare for me though. Like, Sim is still not researching.
It's not. It's really not. The tech lab is on the way finally on Arax, and I imagine Stim is going to be prioritized. It's really interesting how much Azure has delayed it even further, because he's going for Cloak Banshees as a weird follow-up to the Widow Mine drop.
And I guess now we know why Azure didn't go for that 50 gas in the early game to get a Reaper. Because this is such a gas-intensive opening that Azure's getting here. Not only did he get the Raven, he's also going for double Banshees, and not at all neglecting his tank production either, or trying not to.
It feels almost like he's playing kind of like the kitchen sink, a little bit. He went Widow Mine drop with an armory, right? And then he went for the Raven, and then he's going for the Banshees with the cloak as well. To be fair, there are a couple of cannons in the mineral lines, but not here at the third. There's still no detection.
Yeah, the freshest base right now for StarDuck that he is trying to mine as much as he can from. But here it comes. 2 Banshees are enough to one-shot probes, but Azure does need to make sure that he's targeting the correct ones. Again, no... What's the word I'm thinking of here? Like, robo facility yet for StarDuck, so no detection out here. No, okay, there's a robo facility, but no observers. My mistake.
Yeah, he prioritized the War Prism, and then in Immortal, again, just units to go toe-to-toe with the army. Not a detection whatsoever. So 12 probes have already gone down. 0 mining from this third base. Even takes out the shield battery.
Man, StarDuck, he really thought, okay, I'm playing Protoss, I have Chrono Boost, I have 3 Nexuses, I can afford to take losses because I can remake them, right? Right? Azure ain't letting that happen.
I mean, I'm sure he just never expected this to come out, right? He's like, what? He went for a Raven, and then he went for Cloak Banshees after the Widow Mine drop with the arm. Like, what? What is this man doing? How late is his stim? Late. But you know what? It's done.
Very, very late, yeah. What was it, a 7-minute sim timing?
Yeah.
Or 7 minutes when he started to research it?
It was like 8 minutes done or something like that, mate. It took quite some time. But you know what? Stim is done. Combat Shields is done. 1-1 is finishing up for the next wave of Azure's attack. And I'm a little bit concerned because there's no real AoE here. Like, sure, he has an Archon. Sure, he has Charge for his Zealots, but he doesn't have anything else. He doesn't have a Colossus, no Disruptors, nothing along those lines.
Yeah, definitely going to be worrisome here. And Azure, he had an inkling, but now he's confirming it. StarDuck trying to go for the counterattack to equalize the damage. And now Azure just waiting on the high ground. He definitely has enough for at least an anti-armor missile.
I was about to say anti-armor missile is going to be key here in the defense for Azure. It's going to be so juicy if it lands with the Zealots.
Absolutely. That is the key strength of the Zealots that you're just negating there. Just how tanky they are. One good anti-armor missile and they become tissue paper.
Oh god, that they do, and looks like, okay, they're just dancing with each other for now. It's not quite committing to anything, waiting for another warp in of High Templar. Storm is on the way.
Yeah, I think StarDuck has realized what he was missing in that last game. A lot of Widowmites up over here. Which I guess is why Azure is a little bit more hesitant to really push in on this. He would much rather try to bait the Zealots into some really good mine shots, but StarDuck ain't taking the bait. He is very, very content with just keeping the army of Azure back over here and, you know, expanding back at home.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm okay with this as long as Azure, as long as StarDuck doesn't commit up the ramp. If he does, I think he just loses. So he needs to calm down, and just chill out here and contain his opponent as best he can. But Azure is pushing out. Oh.
Very good feedback on top of that Raven. And it's not the end of the world for Azure here. It's not like the Raven is gonna win him a battle, but it's definitely the difference between winning a battle decisively and winning one pyrrhically.
Exactly. Nicely done there by Azure. StarDuck has to be careful. Again, the Observer was sniped earlier, so he doesn't have any detection with his army. Again, a lot of Widowmines with this, and he has to be sure not to overstay his welcome.
He definitely does. Azure is starting to build up quite a lot, and he's working on setting up that flank.
Oh god, that he
is. A surround
is.
bio is a Protoss player's nightmare.
And what's interesting is that behind this, there it is, the Ghost Academy just finished up. We should see Ghost on the way for those EMPs. Azure has to be careful with splitting up his army a little bit. No, not even any medevacs with this Bioforce.
Yeah, this is not so sure what he was really planning to do with his force. I guess just to clear out the gateway over there. Oh, actually, yeah, it does draw away the army.
Yeah.
Quite a bit for StarDuck.
Honestly, this is quite important, right? Like, it distracts the army and it allows Azure to finally leave with a small force so he can go for a bit of a drop. And we saw that this is where Azure really thrives. He goes for those counterattacks, and for the most part, StarDuck is a little bit too preoccupied focusing on his main army.
He definitely is, and of course that army not going to be of any use here at home. Azure already has the defenses he needs set up here with his missile turrets. He remembers the Zealot warp in from game number 1.
Oh, that he does. At the same time, it looks like there was another Widowmine drop, and here comes the drop into the third.
Yeah, forces a recall over here. And that's the main army being pulled back here from Azure, or from StarDuck, I should say. Azure. Now he's free to start pushing out into the map.
God, that he is. StarDuck, he's hunting for that drop, but it looks like for the most part, the drop was able to escape. 23 probes. Basically everything here at the third base went down.
He's really starting to starve out.
No!
StarDuck over here!
StarDuck run away!
Nice little bit of dead air.
It's a lone Marine, and it's killing the Warp Prism. Oh no!
It comes back into the Marine! But it pulls away.
That it does. Meanwhile, we have some Widowmines that are waddling in, but they do finally get cleaned up. There was a bit of a Widowmine drop over here at the fourth base. Oh, finally StarDuck has kind of reclaimed kind of control of his main bases. I say that, but that drop is looking to go back in.
It really is. Just wants confirmation that the main army is away. And he does get that confirmation. Don't think that StarDuck is going to have a recall for quite some time. Takes a while for the cooldown to finish up.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Bring Liberators here just to make it that much harder in case StarDuck decides to recall.
Yeah, this is such a shame. Like, again, StarDuck, he doesn't have the recall. He does have a couple of Stalkers to defend. He takes out one lib, but the drop comes in.
It does, and oh, that's a massive Fields Bat Light. Just one volley away, or one Stalker away from one-shotting the medevac that was full of units.
Oh god, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he had enough to one-shot, but the Liberators actually killed one of the Stalkers, so it was just enough to keep to keep him alive.
Feels bad. That's when you're a little over efficient.
Ay, ay, ay. And finally, StarDuck is able to defend. He's got his 4th up and running, kind of, but despite that, Azure, he's got his own 4th. He's ahead in terms of workers. He could be working on a 5th. He's pretty well defended with all these missile turrets and widow mines all over the place. And I'm a little bit concerned for StarDuck because I feel like in this position, like with maxed out armies, he needs to start getting ready for the late game. Like he needs to start throwing down, you know, some Stargates, some fleet beacons.
Yeah, that would definitely be ideal here for him. But, I mean, Swarm Toss is coming back into favor thanks to Zest.
Is that what you want against Azure's composition, though?
Not exactly. Very nice EMPs there, but not quite going to be enough to take out the Warp Prism that was full of High Templar, and the High Templar do come out enough to start storming this. Those are some decent EMPs.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think Azure has the upgrade yet. Actually, he does.
That he does, and Azure basically winning on both fronts. You know, he takes out the small force here to the north, he was able to push away StarDuck to the south, and now Azure, like he's ahead in supply, is looking to even trade more efficiently, taking out another Archon.
Yeah, does need to be careful not to overextend. He's been really good at attacking StarDuck from multiple angles, but now StarDuck looking to repay the favor.
That he is, and StarDuck, he's committing to this ground force. Like, he does have +3 on the way, but he's, you know, committing to just nothing but these disruptors. To be fair, I do like the addition of the disruptors. Again, relying on High Templar for Storm is not ideal once EMPs come out. Oh god.
Yeah, definitely is not. Forces a battery overcharge in a less than ideal position. This Bioforce is very badly simmed though, and the Templar are very much hidden up to the north over there, so the Ghosts were not in position to EMP them.
That they were not. Oh.
They both tried to pause at the same time. That's a feels bad.
As StarDuck is feeling a little bit of lag. Thankfully, he does do this like after the fight happened. But okay, we're going back in.
And we are looking to make sense of the fights that were going on. A lot of small skirmishes happening everywhere, but Azure definitely getting the upper hand in them, trading a lot more efficiently. But I will say that StarDuck not trading as efficiently, but he has kept his high-tech units alive, at the very least.
Yeah, for the most part he has, and he's replenishing them, you know, with more disruptors, with Colossus as well. I'm just concerned because it feels like the counter to, like, the main composition that StarDuck is going for are Liberators, and Azure should be, like, he is making nothing but Liberators. He should be working on Lib range pretty soon as well, which is why, like, eventually you need something to contend with that, whether it's, I don't know, Tempest, or something or some additional anti-air. And I'm worried that StarDuck may be tunnel visioning a little bit.
Yeah, or DTs. That's pretty good counter to libs.
Sure.
The zones, and even if they're in the zones and there's no detection, grab that one zealot.
Oh boy, feels bad, man. I mean, DCs would be great when it comes to maybe trying to harass and apply some pressure to Azure, because it feels like Azure's bases have been left alone this entire game, essentially. StarDuck just hasn't really been able to do anything to it. Oh god, StarDuck. I mean, StarDuck, he doesn't know where the main army is.
He really does not. Oh, he has an inkling now. I think he might have seen the shadow of a Marine by that cannon.
Oh boy, meanwhile, we do have a Liberator distracting the army a little bit. It does get dealt with. Something else, I don't know if you've noticed, that StarDuck really lacks his detection. He keeps relying on, okay, never mind. Here we go. 3 observers are with the main army.
He's all armying them. Or, no, he's not all armying, but he's keeping them all in the same control group, unfortunately. And this is actually something that I'm really liking from Azure, his use of the Liberators here. Notice that we're getting to the point where both players are about to be maxed out, but every time he sends the Liberators in, he's forcing StarDuck to produce Stalkers, and not something that's a lot more effective, like, say, Disruptors or High Templar.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, Azure, he dragged the entire army here over to the left-hand side. He drops, he kills the 5th base. Sure, he loses a couple of units here and there, but oh god, he's just starting to pull StarDuck apart.
Absolutely is, and sure, he's a little bit lower in the army supply now, but I'm just looking at his production tab. Like, he's got plenty of barracks, he's got enough starports. That's a lot of ghosts on the way.
That's a lot of ghosts on the way, mate. Ooh, Azure, he sees the army, he dodges the army, looking to dive in once again, snipe another disruptor.
And he's gonna get it! DCTs, I was gonna say, are gonna be left alone, but no, they will not. Forces the main army of StarDuck back once again. I do believe that was a kill and not a cancel.
Yep, that it was.
Huge for Azure right now.
Oh, meanwhile,
winning the economic battles.
Meanwhile, finally, StarDuck, he does something to the economy of Azure. You know, it's not much, but he does force a liftoff here on the newest base, on the 5th base. Azure still stuck on 4, struggling to get another base up and running.
That one probe. Send Nexus in. Just block this expansion.
What are you doing?
That one probe.
What are you doing here?
Just bring it forward. Have a pylon, you know? Block the expansion.
Oh,
He's doing it! Ah!
He did it!
When they listen to my advice.
Oh, God. It's sad. I know what he really put.
Main army is right next to it, so.
Cancel.
Cancel? No cancel. Unfortunate.
Yeah. But this is worrisome again. Like, StarDuck's main army is here to the top right, you know, trying to fend off this drop. Meanwhile, Azure, he's posturing here to the bottom left, looking to hit the newest base of StarDuck. Finally, we have a bunch of side defense being thrown down. Oh God, we'll see. I would love to see these. You were talking about it before. The observers spread out a little bit to kind of spot a little bit more the main army of Azure, so StarDuck, he can posture around and react a little bit sooner.
Yeah, he is. I wouldn't say blind, but I guess tunnel visioned in a sense. Not tunnel visioned in the sense that he's just building one type of army, although he kind of is, but more tunnel visioned in that he can only see directly in front of him. So, peripheral vision, he needs to cancel and lift! Doesn't get the lift. Very nice harassment being done here from StarDuck. Bringing Azure down to 50 workers, and it is a little bit worrisome. I mean, Azure still has a bank despite that, but mate, I mean, that's not gonna last, is it?
Mate, how does it feel, Azure? Now it's finally the time for StarDuck to stop being aggressive, you know, pulling Azure's attention over to one side of the map, then pushing into the main base. So there's nothing here to really defend, and Azure, his main army, is just going across the map. Oh God, scan.
He's going for base trade? Question mark? Very good scan here, taking out the Dark Templar.
We'll just have another though. More DTs are coming in, but oh no, never mind.
Yeah, and I suppose even if he doesn't have quite enough for a scan, he still has plenty of EMPs. As long as he's able to see the shades, he should be able to get some detection up. Not too much anti-aero here. The Stalkers are very much spread out. So Azure, once he takes out the freshest base of StarDuck, he's just going to turn around, deal with the main army. I mean, StarDuck has a recall available to him, but he doesn't have a lot of resources left.
That's what I was about to say. StarDuck lost the base. They traded a base for a base, essentially. StarDuck's was worth more, and StarDuck, to be fair, he can recall whenever he wants, but will he be able to in time? That's
definitely the question. Oh, Azure has to be so careful. He doesn't want to lose these ghosts. They are so expensive, and they are the absolute key to him winning the battles right now, and he smashes the main army. Look at that army supply difference, Light. And as we were saying, you know, Azure, actually, no, he's behind on the income somehow. Oh, it's because he lifted his base.
Well, if you recall, this base over here died earlier, so he had to lift a new one over. And I mean, he finally is going to resaturate or get his bases back up and running. The problem is StarDuck, right? StarDuck, that base that he lost was so valuable to him. And now, like, he's barely got any economy. He does have more workers, but he needs time to replenish his army.
Really does. He's making nothing but zealots right now because he does not have any gas to his name.
Oh God, mate, it's gonna be all about the purification of his. Can you do it? Nothing shoots up.
Nothing shoots up. It's a problem with not having gas.
And now. Okay, we do have a couple of Stalkers being warped in, which is nice, but again, that's not ideal because what are they gonna do? Blink forward and then just be hit in the face by the ground army?
Exactly. I'm loving how Azure is posturing this. Beautiful EMPs on top of the disruptors, even forcing a couple of them into liberation zones. A nice split at the last second. EMPs the entire army, trying to take out, there we go, takes out the disruptor that had the Nova, and this is going to be it. GG should be called very soon. There's just no way for StarDuck to fight back.
Exactly, that's it when it comes to the main army of StarDuck. The last real mining base of StarDuck, the only one remaining here, only has a handful, 4 mineral patches. That's barely anything. And what does StarDuck really have going for him? Okay, he has a lot of disruptors, to be fair, so he has a lot of potential here, but again, like, the Liberators can just siege up.
They really can. I mean, the Stalkers are decent. That's a very good purification Nova.
True.
But I'm just looking at the army supply. All of the ghosts get taken out.
All the Marauders! Everything goes down to the Novas!
It is absolutely massive, and it's still going to take a while for the rest of the army of Azure to come in. A lot of his supply, actually, are in these Liberators and Medivacs. I'm loving how Azure is playing with his Medivacs right now, just trying to bait these units into the Liberation Zones. And actually, Tech's got quite a number of volleys off. A lot of Disruptors have been taken out, has a split. Very good Purification Novas from StarDuck, and funnily enough, we're seeing that massive supply lead turn down to a tiny supply lead.
Yeah, the problem is this. Look at all these mules. Jesus Christ. Like, Azure has the potential for an amazing economy. He has this newest base. He's Terran. He can just lift up and take new bases. It's on StarDuck. StarDuck is on a timer. The longer this goes on, the worse it is for StarDuck. He has to try and end the game.
I'm just looking at 600 mineral income versus 3,000 mineral income.
Exactly. That's, oh my god.
And Marines, they don't cost any gas.
None whatsoever.
And that's the only unit you need as a Terran player.
Oh boy, and StarDuck is aware of this, and I mean, again, he has plenty of Nova, so maybe he can go toe-to-toe with this army. There's no planetary here.
Yeah, so there's nothing really for Azure to leverage that position, but I mean, just look at the production right now. StarDuck not producing anything, and it's not like he doesn't have the resources for it. He is just kind of tunnel vision right now. Very split on the Purification Nova there. Not as ideal, but that was the second last Nova. Oh, that's absolutely massive, though.
Oh my god.
But every time one of the Novas hits, or every time Azure lets a Novas hit, I should say, he's also allowing himself to get closer and take out another Disruptor. StarDuck not producing anymore. He's down to 1.
Yeah,
and that's a moneymaker.
He mismicroed a little bit, and like 5 Disruptors died in a blink of an eye. Like Azure was able to just stim forward and just take everything out. And even though StarDuck is trading as efficiently as possible, like again, he's trading against Marines, you know, like against bio units. So oh god, Azure, he can maintain this. Azure cannot. Sorry, StarDuck cannot. He is trying to remake those Disruptors with that bank you were talking about, but again, he has such a finite amount of them. He's actually long distance mining. Oh no.
This is why it's so exciting that we are on a single elimination today. Like, StarDuck is well aware of that, and he knows this is tournament life on the line, so he's fighting back with everything he's got. He could have GG'd earlier on. But instead, he knows. He knows there is a chance of victory for him in this path, and if he doesn't take it, he's out of the tournament.
That he is, and oh my god, he's actually going back. He's actually going back to help deal with this, with this middle line, which I mean I completely understand. But again, Azure, his supply is just getting higher and higher. Ooh, there are DTs out on the map, and maybe they can do something. Maybe they can force Azure to run out of scans, but he's just got so many CCs, especially when he lands this one. He's got plenty of energy.
Yeah, that he will, and that's a lot of mules that are going to be available for him. Has remade a good number of Disruptors, and that's really preventing Azure from pushing into StarDuck right now.
Oh boy.
I just realized we're about 30 minutes in, and we are basically on both tier 2 armies. Neither player really going too hard into the late game, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. StarDuck, I think he only has the last Purification over, then he needs a little bit more time to recharge. He does have 3 more on the way. There they go.
And once again, just kind of blue balling Azure here. He stims for it, wants to take out some army, but then nope, another Purification Nova comes in, has to back away.
Oh, the DTs!
Do manage to pick off a tank. That was really what was keeping Azure in that position. He's giving up so much ground over here, but he started to work on a flank over here. He's able to hit, a little bit of a missed position over here. Nice split with those bio units. Nice split with these bio units, keeping most of them alive, wasting a lot of Purification Novas over here, but still unable to really make any moves into the main army of StarDuck.
Yeah, I think what's important is that so far every Nova of StarDuck, especially in that engagement, he was able to get some value. He was able to get a couple of Marauders here and there, but oh god, there's just so much fire here. Can he really stop this onslaught? Azure, he's really struggling to engage with this army.
Well, you know, if they really bunch up together and StarDuck, you know, spreads out the Novas, then yeah, it's possible, but not going to be likely. I mean, there's enough bio here to take out the Disruptors before the Novas manage to actually finish up. Hot pick up one of the Medivacs too, saving a decent amount of the bio's life.
Mate, that was some pretty good purification. No, but he moves commands forward. No!
He does, and the last of his Novas did get popped in. and Azure takes out the disruptors. I just noticed that StarDuck was not actually warping in from his gateways for a long time. He was producing out of nothing but his robo facility. That meant he had no buffer for these disruptors.
He has no money, mate. He has 85 minerals. That's all he's got. And with this is his last remaining army. It looks like Azure, he's finally been able to do it. There's nothing here to really stop him. Only a single disruptor and 2 stalkers.
Remember the Ala mode, light.
God,
That's
remember.
StarDuck is really staying over here. But Azure, he's making his way down into the base.
Downtown.
Walking fast.
And he's homebound, as it looks like he's gonna be able to take this. Oh god, there's just essentially zero mining at the moment. It's literally zero mining for StarDuck. He's just got a handful of probes, just trying to do what they can.
Trying to process this right now. I mean, credit to StarDuck. It looked like he was out of his game about 15 minutes ago, but he made one hell of a comeback.
He did.
Fortunately, not quite enough to take the victory, but enough to stay in the game. GG is called, and Azure is going to move forward. Old mate Craig. He does it again, like.
He does it again, and like, to be fair, both series were both games were incredibly hard fought, incredibly intense. Ooh, but in the end, Azure was able to take down StarDuck without even dropping a map.
I just saw who his next opponent is. Like, it's his favorite player, of course, the one who he loves playing against the most. Let's go Joey.
Mm-hmm.